Hello, welcome to the Villages, Florida. My name is David. I'm a realtor with Florida Realty Investments, and every week I give you an overview of what's happening in the Villages real estate market. We'll take a look at real estate generally, but we do focus on the Villages here on this channel. The Villages is a very unique market. We actually have two separate real estate marketplaces here. One operated by the Villages themselves called the VLS, which is the only place that you will find new homes listed. And the other marketplace is the MLS that everybody knows about from the rest of the country. Unrelated to the Villages, this marketplace only contains pre owned homes. But the fact is that if you're a buyer here in the Villages, you really need access to both VLS and MLS properties. If you don't see properties on both marketplaces, you will not be seeing everything for sale here. All of the information on the show is drawn from the MLS. We're going to cover the Villages in its entirety, and I'm going to show you the differences between the different regions of the Villages. I've broken the Villages down into the North, South, North, and Middle South, and you'll get an idea as to what the prices are for homes in the different areas and the differences between sizes and prices as you move north or south in the Villages. If you find this information valuable, please consider liking and or subscribing to the channel. It really helps us with the YouTube algorithm. Also, we have a website, DavidisinFlorida.com. If you visit us there, we welcome the engagement. And if you would like to reach out to me, I am either at davidisinflorida@gmail.com or through my website, davidisinflorida.com. If you're a buyer, I will show you how we can research the data to find you a good deal in the area or price range you're looking for. And if you're a seller, I'll show you how you can maximize your return and ask the highest reasonable asking price to free your equity in a reasonable period of time. With that out of the way, let's take a look now at what's happening this week. Before we get into the nitty gritty of this week's information, let's take a look at where the Villages actually is. For those who might not be as familiar, the Villages is located in Central Florida. It is between Orlando and Gainesville, about an hour north of Orlando. And as we zoom in here on this map, you're looking at all active listings currently on the Villages MLS. I'm zooming in on the Lake Sumter area. The map you're looking at shows all listings with the size of the circle representing the size of the property and the color of the circle representing its price, i.e., the asking price. Interesting, one can compare the previous map to this one, which shows exactly the same listings, but this time the color of the circle denotes its price per square foot. The less expensive, the darker the circle, the more expensive, the lighter the circle. Obviously, by using tools like this, we can narrow our focus in on the deals that you might be looking for. So now let me take a look at the different areas of the Villages, and we're going to break it, as I said, into four regions: north, middle south, and south. The size of the circle is the size of the home. The color of the circle denotes its price per square foot. Darker circles are less expensive per square foot, and lighter circles are more expensive per square foot. So this is the area that we're calling the north. This is all properties that are south of 42 and north of Highway 466. This is the area that I'm calling the mid-north, which is everything south of 466 and north of 466A. This is the area that I'm calling the mid-south, which is everything south of 466A but north of Highway 44. And this is the area that I'm calling the South, which is everything south of Highway 44. I believe the VLS has more listings in the South than the MLS, but my point remains, if you're a buyer, you really need to see properties on both marketplaces or you will not be seeing everything for sale here. So now we'll turn our attention to what's happening with interest rates. Interest rates do play a big factor in the price of real estate since it is financed. And the financing terms for a mortgage are traditionally 30 years. The 10-year government bond is the yield that the mortgage rate most closely tracks. Looking at this chart, you can see that this week we're down to about 4.4. Bonds rallied dramatically over the last day or so. This has reduced rates by about 0.1% over the last couple of days. But as I point out interminably, the US is borrowing $1 trillion every 100 days. It's hard to imagine that interest rates can move lower in that kind of environment. So now let's narrow our focus on the villages, and we're looking at all listings, which this week number 464, down slightly from the 466 of last week, and up dramatically from the 346 active listings that were in effect the same week a year ago. Prices in the villages range from 144.9, which was originally 174.9, to $2.395 million, which is the same price it was originally marketed at. Here we keep track of the long-term trend on prices. This is the median listing price per square foot for all active listings on the MLS currently. This week, 259.82 a foot, up very slightly from the 259.52 of last week, but we are still lower than the 261.22 that the median home was listed for a year ago. We think that this chart is worth watching. It's the median time on the market for all listings, which this week jumps to 45 days from 41 days last week. And this is the same median time on the market for all listings that was in effect a year ago. So let's dive a little deeper. We're going to take a look at the villages as a whole and then the four regions separately. What you're looking at are all active listings, 464, the smallest and largest, the most expensive and least expensive, and the median size and price. The graphs on the bottom are showing you how many properties are available in each price, and on the right, how many properties are available at each size of property. Now let's dive into the differences between the regions. Here we're looking at the north, which as I said is between 42 and 466. There are 213 active listings currently, ranging in size from 768 square feet to 2,998 square feet. Prices in the north range from 145,000 to a million 20, and the median priced home in the north is 340,000 currently. This is the mid-north, everything south of 466 and north of 466A, 144 active listings on the MLS, smallest 1,090 square feet, largest 4,216 square feet, least expensive 276,000, most expensive 2,395,000. This is the Mid-South, 45 current active listings. Once again, this is the area south of 466A and north of 44. Smallest home on the MLS, 1,156 square feet. Largest, 2,790. Least expensive home, 288,000. And the most expensive home in the Mid-South, 1.1 million. And this is the summary of active listings on the MLS in the south, which is everything south of Highway 44. 62 active listings, smallest home 959 square feet, largest 2,645. The least expensive home in the south is 245,000, and the most expensive is 1,250,000. It's not your imagination as you look at this information to realize that most of the active listings are further north. Here's one last look. We've broken it down by price. You can see that the most active price segment in the villages is the $300,000 to $400,000 range. And you can see that in the mid-north, there are 60 properties for sale in this price range. In the mid-south, 11. In the north, 103. And in the south, 25. Now we come to a graph that we think is a good leading indicator, giving you an idea as to what is going to be happening. We're looking at how many new listings and how many homes went pending over the last 7 days. New listings are obviously new supply, and homes going pending is supply being taken off the market. Last week, there were 31 new listings compared to 39 the week before and 55 the year before. Homes going pending last week numbered 26 compared to 48 the previous week and compared to 42 for the same period a year ago. This is an important leading indicator. You can see that new listings are still higher than homes going pending, and as long as that is the case, we'll see inventory increase and sellers will become increasingly nervous here. This chart is a summary of the previous chart showing you the difference between new listings and homes going pending. Last week, there were 5 more homes being listed than going pending. The previous week, there were 9 more homes going pending than being listed. And a year ago, there were 13 more homes being listed than going pending. So let's take a look at the homes that went pending last week. 244.09 was the median price at which they went pending, down from the 250.51 of the previous week and the 258.25 of a year ago. Keep in mind the numbers that you're looking at are actual weekly numbers, whereas the graph is showing you a 4-week smoothed average. And more bad news for sellers and good news for buyers. This shows the price change from the original listing price for the homes that went pending over the last week. They had reduced their asking price by a median 5.52% compared to only 4.33 the week before, and compared to only 5% reduction for the same week a year ago for the homes that went pending. So let's take a look at sales, which is the conclusion of the real estate transaction. Last week, 40 transactions closed compared to 32 the week before, down from the 48 of a year ago. Prices for the homes that closed last week ranged from 146,000 to 1,175,000. The $146,000 home was originally almost 160,000, and the 1175 home was reduced by 75,000. As part of encouraging news for sellers, this is the price realized on the homes that closed last week. 250 a foot, up from the 231 a foot for the homes that closed the week before, and higher than the 243 a foot for the homes that closed same week a year ago. It's worth noting, though, that the trend on this graph is still lower. We started producing this chart last week to give us an idea as to how the year compares to previous years. You're seeing the number of sales per week for 2022 in blue, for 2023 in green, and for 2024 in red. We are following historical patterns here. And now we come to some good news for buyers. We're looking at what percentage of listings in the villages have reduced their asking price from the original list price. 57.76% of listings have this week, compared to only 56.01% of those listings who had done so last week. And you can see that this market is looking weaker even than it did the same week a year ago. But the counterpoint is a positive here for sellers, which is the percentage of decrease that all listings on the MLS are offering currently. A median 4.32%, down very slightly from the 4.35% of the week before, and down very slightly from the 4.35 of the same week a year ago. But looking at this graph, even as the number of reductions seems to be increasing, the percentage of reduction does not seem to be. If you're a buyer and you're trying to get a good deal here in the villages, or you're a seller and you're trying to maximize your return in a reasonable period of time, please consider utilizing our data-driven approach. I think you'll find that you'll have a lot more comfort in any number that you're either proposing paying or asking. And once again, I can be reached at either DavidisinFlorida.com or through my email at DavidisinFlorida@gmail.com. Please reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. I hope to hear from you. Take care.